The Brew House was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery, but the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewHouse.com. Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us here on location at the Genesee Brew House for the original Rochester Press Box. I'm Bill Pucko, happy to be joined this week with the return to mainstream media of Dan Moriarty. Welcome back, Danny.
Thanks for having me.
Mike Catalana, co-hosting here for 13 WHAM News.
Good to be here.
And Pat Duffy for WCMF.
Hey.
Look, NFL, we got 1 week under our belts now. You're seeing things a little bit differently, I guess, now that you don't have to judge it with such a critical eye. What are our takeaways from the first week of NFL play?
It's cool to see some of these young quarterbacks on the rise. No Peyton Manning, who retired. No Tom Brady, who's been suspended. And so for me, I was kind of watching some of these young guys, especially Jameis Winston in his second season. Looked very good in week one. Again, it's tough to take too much from week one, but I was interested to see how some of these young guys would perform. And Derek Carr and the Oakland Raiders are an interesting team to watch this season. Derek Carr had himself a nice week one as well.
Yeah, the guys making debuts all did well.
Yeah, and they gave them an opportunity. And to Dan's point, we heard that whole worry about where are the next batch of quarterbacks going to come from. Well, I mean, you don't know how many of these guys will really, really pan out. Nobody is saying yet, Manning and Brady type levels, but there's a lot of guys that can play and getting a lot of freedom in their offenses and guys are picking up quickly. And I'm with you on Winston. I think last year he really showed signs more than I think a lot of people expected with what they did at Florida State, and he's been really impressive.
Well, that's what's most frustrating, right, is you see these teams come out with these quarterbacks that you're sure are going to bust, and they're all playing really well. Why can't that happen for us? Why does this keep happening? Like, come on, Jameis Winston shouldn't be good. Jameis Winston is supposed to be a bust because he's got bust written all over him, right? He's overweight. He plays in a simple offense in college. Right, look at him. He just looks goofy. He just looks goofy out there running around the way he's doing it. But no, he's been playing fantastic. Carson Wentz makes me more... Of course, he throws the first touchdown of the NFL season while we're watching that Bills game last week, and Tyrod Taylor can't complete a pass over 7 yards. I hate it. It makes me want to cry.
Kind of quality takes we've become accustomed to. The guy looks goofy. He can't play.
He does look goofy.
Going back to Winston, his very first game at Florida State against Pitt. It was obvious the differences between him and E.J. Manuel, who had been in that offense for a number of years. He was making anticipatory throws in his first game against Pitt in a primetime game.
Your guy. I mean, what a game plan. I mean, Garoppolo's been around for a few years, but he really hasn't played. And he looked poised. He looked in control. Again, it's 1 week as the starter, but that comes from both preparing the guy well, giving him enough freedom, because when you don't give a quarterback freedom, he's standing there and you can only adjust so much based on the coach. At a certain point, it's on the player, and you see guys just stand there with no ability to check out of plays or not the great knowledge of the offense, and then they're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and Garoppolo doesn't look goofy.
Well, here's the thing, though. You're right, he doesn't.
He's a good-looking man.
I don't think the Arizona Cardinals are everything everyone thinks they are. I do it like this. Like, it's the 85 Bears, not the 86 Bears, right? Like, these defenses are supposed to fall off. Arizona had a great defense last year. Watching that game, and I had to watch it back because it's up late and I have an early bedtime. It looked like the Cardinals were making mistakes, not Garoppolo was exploiting them. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I don't disagree with you, except he looked poised. There's just some look of it. Now, again, it's 1 week, but he looked poised. He looked in control, and they looked, as not surprisingly, very well coached.
See if he can do it again now that there's tape on him. Now that there's tape, let's see if he can do it again.
Although, are we done counting out the Patriots? Has it gotten to that point yet? They lose Brady. They go 11-5 with Matt Castle. Now, that team was exceptional. They were undefeated the season before. But this season, Brady's got the 4-game suspension. They go out on the road against Arizona, a team that might be, at least talent-wise, as good as anybody else in the league. And they went on the road with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback.
Of all the winners in week one, maybe Belichick was the biggest of them. This is the original Rochester Press Box. We are on location at the Genesee Brew House. We're talking Bills next. Buffalo Bills quote of the week was brought to you by the Rochester Geico office. Give the Rochester Geico team a chance to see how much you could save on all your insurance needs. Call or stop by the office on West Henrietta Road, open Monday through Saturday. The Press Box, brought to you in part by Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. Call 262-COMP, C-O-M-P, today. The Geico Rochester quote of the week, typical Rex Ryan, don't you think?
It is, and he says, I get bigger, my team plays better. I have a friend of mine, Greg Lederman, I'll mention his name, great guy, except he's a Cowboys fan, his one major flaw, and he has a theory. No overweight coach, we're talking about overweight, not just a guy with a little belly, but an overweight coach has ever won the Super Bowl. And I questioned him on it, and then you go back and look at tape of guys when they won, or pictures of when they won. Parcells was thinner. Holmgren was thinner. None of these guys were overweight when they won as a
Hank
Super Bowl.
Stram was a big fat fatty.
Oh,
he just wore that suit. He wore that suit. You
I'm
look better in
telling
a
you,
three-piece suit.
You got to look at the shots of them when they were coaching.
I trust your
This
research.
is a theory he has, and I hate to say, but up to this point, it's pretty accurate. So Rex has got to keep that weight at a good level.
This portion of the original Rochester Press Box, where we are on location here at the Genesee Brew House, is brought to you by one of our new sponsors, and we welcome in Connors and Ferris. We'll be donating $500 to Kelly Tough Hunter's Hope, to the winner of the person who best picks the NFL games this week. We're taking 2 a week. Mike Catalana won it last year.
Yes, I did.
I won it last week with
Yes,
a
you
2-0
did.
week. So let's talk picks.
That was Pat.
Oh, you were on 2.
I love how the guy that picks the Patriots. Oh, I did really, really well. Hey, the wind is going to beat this tree that's falling over. Of course it is.
Take someone who doesn't look goofy.
Okay, I'm going with the Saints over the Giants. Giants, 5 points. Saints and Giants, 5 points. New York at home. Did the Saints not have the most yardage in NFL last week? They looked phenomenal. They looked unstoppable. The Giants, not so much. You want to talk about looking goofy? Listen. All right, is it just me, or does the Giants head coach look like he's wearing a disguise at all times?
Really does.
Right? Like he's trying to sneak into somebody's house, so he bought one of those mustaches and a... All right, anyway, yeah, I'm taking the Saints over the Giants. They're going to cover. I think a straight-out win, too.
Once again, quality input. Guy looks like someone breaking into your
Bobby
house.
Valentine coming back in the
That's
dugout.
what he looks like. He looks like Bobby Valentine.
Well, no better reason than I will take the Giants giving the 5 points against the Saints. And my main way of looking at this is Pat took the Saints, so I took the Giants.
Well, after you miss on this, you're going to need the same mustache and wig.
I actually I thought the Giants' defense was much better than they were a year ago against the Cowboys. Did that, and I think anybody can score against the Saints.
God, it's fun to be talking football. Who you got this week, Danny?
I mentioned Derek Carr earlier. I love watching this Oakland Raiders team. I'm going to take them at home over Atlanta.
I also think these teams that look so good week one are the teams to stay away from, the ones that look bad, so I'll take the one to look the worst. The one you picked to win last week, I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns getting points in their home opener. We're going to take the Sunday night game now because the Bills played on Thursday, and obviously their game was done when we were here.
Huh? Yeah.
What a game.
Yeah.
Who do you like?
I'm not taking the Vikings. I know there'll be emotion at home and everything, but I think Rodgers going in there will love to spoil that for him. He's just that kind of personality. I think he'll live for that. At this moment, we're not even sure who they're starting at quarterback. I don't think it really matters in that sense for the Vikings because Bradford would be just coming back. I'm going to take the Packers given the points.
Green Bay, Minnesota.
Packers. What is it? I can't believe it's only 2.5, by the way. That's a half a point for the Vikings.
Yeah.
What? Huh? Really? Adrian Peterson did what Adrian Peterson did on opening day every single year. What do you have, like 7 yards last week? Of course it's the Packers. What is Vegas thinking?
Yeah. You got anything different to say on this?
The Vikings do have a good defense, but how do you pick against Aaron Rodgers? And as Mike said, it's tough to know without the quarterback, but they do have Sam Bradford on their team. I can't root for Sam Bradford. I'll go with Aaron Rodgers.
Generally, when there's agreement, you go with the other team.
So that's what you're going to do?
Nah, because I did that last week with the Bills, and I did it right. We're going to sweep for the Packers. I can't see it either, but hopefully it's an entertaining game. So here's a look at our Week 1 standings. I am on top. Gregory Connors, a partner in Connors and Ferris, sponsoring this, take Green Bay over Minnesota. So it's a complete sweep, also taking the Steelers over Cincinnati. This portion of the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House, brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Like It or Not is next. The Press Box Trivia Question, brought to you by Sleep City. Queen adjustable bed with memory foam mattress, now $977. Save over $500. Shop Rochester's only locally owned mattress store. No pressure, no hassle sales experience. Here's a look at the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Sleep City, Queen adjustable bed with memory foam mattress. Now $977, you save over $500. Shop Rochester's only locally owned mattress store. No pressure, no hassle sales experience. See New York in a whole new way. Amtrak is offering a 15% discount for all travel inside New York State and to Montreal. Visit Amtrak.com for the See New York discount. Safe, comfortable, affordable, and easy. Amtrak. Enjoy the journey. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box, on location here at the Genesee Brew House. This is Like It or Not, brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Like it or not, Central Michigan getting that win week 1 over Oklahoma State.
Oh, I thought it was great. Well, it's great for everybody but fans of Oklahoma State, right? Like, that's what makes college football so much fun, is it's a giant mistake. It should not have happened, yet it's going to be the best highlight all season from college football. And I am partial to Central Michigan, as they were one of the first schools ever booked me when I was doing stand-up comedy. So,
excellent.
Fire them up, Chippewas. Good for them.
There's a lot of talk, the reactionary talk is, the NCAA ought to give the win to Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I just saw a whole piece about Colorado football. It was a 30 for 30. They talked about the 5 downs when they scored the touchdown. Example. It is. At the moment, it's funny because you're watching it and no one is coming up with anything. And it's, the announcers, nobody, and there's nothing going there. And they played it like they thought it was 4th down, but they talked to them a lot about giving it back. If you're the team, you take it. I don't think they're going to ever do that where you would pull that away and take the win away from the team.
The Titans and Phil Luckett give us our win back from 16 years ago? Because that'd be pretty nice. They ended up going on to a Super Bowl.
That's not conclusive. Boy, you've been holding on to that for a long time.
Conclusive? Are you kidding me?
You've been holding on to that for a long time.
How much more conclusive do you
How can you not hold on to that? That was the last time I got a chance to see my team in the playoffs.
Wow.
Like it or not, Danny, look, we're in week 3. The Colin Kaepernick flag issue. Anything new to discuss here?
Well, we've seen, the Seattle Seahawks went arm in arm. They played on September 11th, so I wonder if that would have been a little bit different if it wasn't on September 11th. We saw Kaepernick on Monday night on the 12th, and him and Eric Reed continued to take their knee. I think that it's still going to be the same situation. We have seen more players from different teams, whether it's been a fist in the air or the arm in arm throughout the league, though. You
know what's getting people into trouble now is because, we fall into the category, I don't even deny that, is that everybody now feels obliged to issue an opinion. So you're getting stuff coming from everywhere, and not all these people have got, let's face it, reasonable, reliable opinions. You don't change who they are.
Are you really saying that everybody doesn't have a reasonable opinion on a subject? I mean, that's what's happened. The only thing I
Everyone
think about
has
it is
to have an opinion.
If it becomes less about the actual flag, is what we said a couple weeks ago, I think that would be a good thing, because then it would go to what he was talking about, not about the whole issue. I had someone call me up and tell me the whole issue is are the flags maybe in the United States? Like, this is what the guy picked out of the whole thing. He said, that's what we should be protesting. Everybody's looking for their own little bit of it.
But that argument in itself shows how flawed Colin Kaepernick was to begin with. It is my First Amendment right to misunderstand what he said, right? It is my right, within freedom of speech, to say whatever I want about whatever the heck he did. So in his protest, listen, the best he could have hoped for, and anybody when they do stuff like this, is I'm going to make a statement, and hopefully you see what my statement is for. And if you don't, well, I can't get upset, because that's what's great about this country.
But now the second wave, for instance, they asked Steph Curry, you going to do it? Now it's like, now you got to fall into a camp. I just think we're kind of losing focus.
I think it might sort of fade away at a certain point. I think what will make it more interesting, I guess I would say, is if Kaepernick actually starts playing and maybe there's more reaction to him on the field. He came in at the end of the first game, mop-up duty with like a minute left, and there was a smattering, a little bit of booze. For the most part, it wasn't really anything. It'd be interesting if he's actually a player, not just a backup.
It's funny, Chris Berman had an opinion, and actually it made a lot of sense. He said, Kaepernick could attract a lot of attention to his cause if, given the 9/11 weekend of games, if he'd stood up on that weekend. And the statement was that this is a little different.
Wait, so Berman wanted him to take it back?
Yeah, make a joke out of it.
Okay. Yeah, way to go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse us, the fine journalistic integrity of the Rochester Press Box.
Which you've already demonstrated many times here. This is the original Rochester Press Box. This portion was brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Unfinished business is next. The Press Box Stat of the Week brought to you by Fiondoc and Fiondoc. Remember, if you've made the wrong choice, it's time to make the right choice. Fiondoc and Fiondoc, New York's DWI leader for over 35 years. Visit Our Rochester Press Box Genesee Brew House Fan of the Week. He's Mike Burwell of Lewiston, New York. He receives a $25 gift certificate for the Brew House and a Press Box t-shirt from Brew House staffer Alicia Weaver. Congratulations. Thank you for watching the Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House. Introducing Dunkin's new cold brewed coffee. Steep slowly in cold water for small batches for an extra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'. Welcome back. This is the original Rochester Press Box on location at the Genesee Brew House. This portion, Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Without trepidation. Here's Pat Duffy.
You know, this week, Abby Wambach releases her memoirs, right? And everybody gets into it, and here comes the standard question. Is she a role model now that she admits to alcohol abuse and drug abuse and all the things that she went through? I have more respect for Abby Wambach today than I ever had when she was the greatest female athlete possibly of all time. And you get into some of these segments in the book where she talks about, you know, having to come out, which she never actually really officially did, not that she had to, and having these drug and alcohol problems and being forced into this leadership role and being the face of a community that she didn't really embrace to begin with publicly because she understood how bad things can get for her. You know, we live in a time now where her living an alternative lifestyle, if you even want to call it that anymore, is no big deal. You forget that when Abby Wambach was coming of age, becoming the star that she wasn't far removed from Mike Piazza, catcher for the New York Mets, holding a press conference to announce he wasn't gay. Imagine the pressure of a young woman who is on the verge of superstardom, knowing she has this inside her, having to keep her mouth shut, and not being able to live the life she wants to, yet having to be everybody's All-American for everybody else. I'll be honest with you. I don't really care about women's soccer. And it was great that Abby was from here, and you could say, yeah, she was here and it was cool. I didn't care. After reading what she had to go through all of these years, I care now, and I'll never respect anybody more than I do Abby Wambach today.
Very well said.
Yeah, that was good. Right on the money, I think. And, you know, the fact that when you hear her talk about how difficult it was with certain things with her own family, you know, you just realize that how personal this had to be for her. And you're right, she had a lot at risk in both cases, and I think she's handled it as well as you could.
Danny.
Well, last week there was a highly publicized UFC bout with a fake wrestler, this guy named CM Punk. Next week, though, something that isn't getting much pub, a local guy making his UFC debut, a kid I went to high school with, Gregor Gillespie. He was a two-time New York State champion wrestler at Webster Schrader and went on to be a four-time All-American as well as a national champion in college. This kid has been a fighter for the last 3 years. He's 7-0. He's had 6 finishes in the first round. And we just talked about addiction with Abby Wambach. He's overcome addiction as well. This kid's had a long road to get to this point, and now he gets to make his UFC debut. So maybe it doesn't have the pub behind it like a guy like CM Punk does, although I do think that there's reason for circus acts like that in the UFC. But a guy like Gregor Gillespie, congratulations to him. It's been an unbelievable road. He's an amazing kid. I actually ran cross country with him in middle school. He did that just to stay in shape for wrestling, and tough as hell. I mean, he would run through shin splints. He basically couldn't practice during the week. He would just show up race time and go out there and win the race just to get himself ready for the wrestling season. Obviously had an unbelievably decorated wrestling career. Good luck in the UFC.
Is this curve still going up on this sport, do you think?
Absolutely. What is that supposed to
well,
mean?
No, we had
you doubting over there?
Well, no, we had Big Baby on before, and it was just like, it was an interesting discussion, I thought, where it maybe it's plateaued a little bit.
No, I think it's continuing. Now that they've got New York, we've got the Madison Square Garden event coming up. As I mentioned with Gregor, he's now the 6th New York State high school champion who's made it into the UFC. 2 of those guys have gone on to be UFC champions, John Jones and Chris Weidman.
And the key is middle school cross country.
I know.
That's how you get it done.
That was my connection. So.
How about Moriarty in the tank top?
All right, earlier we talked about the quarterbacks and some of these young guys and the hope that they can be the next generation of those quarterbacks and be good. And I hear from fans all the time, they say, it's amazing, we can do this in our country, we can do that, we can have people do all these amazing things. How come we can't come up with 32 competent guys to play quarterback in the NFL? And my answer is always this: we've never had 32 competent quarterbacks in the NFL. It never works that way. Think back to years ago. There would be 4, 5, 6 good quarterbacks, great ones maybe. Then you go to the next tier and the next tier. The difference now in football is you need the quarterback more than you ever have. It doesn't mean you'll have 32. You also don't have 32 aces on pitching staffs or 30 aces on pitching staffs in Major League Baseball. Every NHL team does not have a quality #1 goaltender.
Someone behind me?
No, I'm just waiting for you to talk about your Sabres. It doesn't work that way, and it doesn't work that way in the NFL. We don't have 32. We'll have the greats, we'll have the next tier, and some teams will always be struggling. That's the way it works in football.
Unfinished Business brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Danny, nice to have you back, man. We'll keep you in the regular rotation.
Appreciate it.
Keep you...
Fresh?
Yeah.
Yes, fresh would be a good word. Guys, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on the original Rochester Press Box. Bob Blyer, the former Aquinas quarterback and NFL player, will be our guest next week.